Allegory and allusions are two separate things, but they share many similar ideologies. However, one is more specific while the other is more elusive. It just hints at it. Okay, alright, so thank you, Professor English, for joining us here today.
Oh, anytime, it's a pleasure.
Alright, so we're on a mission trying to figure out what allusion and allegory is. Could you tell us what they mean?
Of course. Allusions are a brief and indirect reference to a person, place, thing, or idea of cultural, historical, literary, or political significance. Allusions don't describe in detail to the person or thing to which it's referencing to.
In similar terms, allusions. Allusions are when an author hints indirectly to a cultural, historical, literary, or political significant reference.
One example of an allusion is the following phrase, "Don't act like a Romeo in front of her." The user/author mentioned an actual literary reference. Romeo is a well-known fictional character that's created by William Shakespeare in his play Romeo and Juliet. Whoever used this phrase specifically mentioned a significant fictional character. This is a perfect example of an allusion as it was briefly mentioned and the knowledge of said reference was expected and not explained in detail.
Okay, now what about allegory?
Okay, so allegory is when an author uses principles, ideas, or abstract events to describe characters and figures in their story. The objective of this is to teach some kind of moral lesson.
Okay.
In similar terms, allegory. Allegory is more literal and it directly references to the bigger idea. It also abstractly represents the bigger idea using characters and figures.
The Lottery, written by Shirley Jackson, is a prime example of an allegorical short story. All the characters, Tessie Hutchinson, Old Man Warner, Mr. Summers, along with the actual event of the lottery, was purposely layered by the author. Collectively, they implied a message hidden by Shirley Jackson. After reading the entire story, it is learned that there was a deeper meaning to the crude lottery. Jackson was saying how society typically follows traditions and mindsets without question, despite it being bizarre or illogical. This allegory is mocking humans following traditions blindly. This is why the lottery is a good example of the usage of an allegory.
Great, thank you so much, Professor English, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Alright, so for our game, you'll get a deck of cards. These deck of cards have two headers. One says Allegory and the other says Allusions. Spread them out on your desk, like so. And then with the remaining deck's cards, you will see that there are 6 terms. Together, as a group, you will read through the terms and determine whether they belong in the Allusions category or the Allegory category. Then, once you're done, raise your hand and one of us will come over and check to make sure all the terms are placed in the correct category. And then you'll be finished.